Mikey and Rinne stay in. Oh, yeah. I'm so unprofessional at this. Okay.
You're great.
Thanks, babe. Okay. Welcome to Mikey and Rinne Stay In. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Rinne.
And today we have an awesome friend of mine, Carina, from high school. How are you, Carina?
Good. How are you two?
We're so good.
So good.
I know full disclosure, we just got back from vacation in California last night. Mm-hmm. And I think we're both having a little bit of the back home depressions or whatever. Like, got to go back to work tomorrow and barf. Yeah, so we were going to talk to Carina about a whole bunch of different things, but we're going to have our dog barking in the background.
Sure. Just keeping it professional over here.
Defending
always.
The house. Yeah.
Always.
Well, Carina, why don't just tell us a little bit about you, like what you do and your kiddos, all that sort of stuff. Tell us like what we should know about you.
Yeah, so I am a mom of two kids, a 4-year-old Valentina, and then Iker is 8. I work for the city that I live in as a public art administrator, but I also do a little bit of other things within the art community here in Colorado.
That's awesome. I was very intimidated or interested to see what your artwork was going to be in your office. I was like, let's see what she's picked.
I think I see pretty color back there, yeah?
Yeah, and then I have some graphic art by a local artist who actually was connected by another friend here in town. And I've actually included that graphic artist in an exhibition that I've curated. So it's kind of nice to have that art community that's so small, especially like the Latinx art community. So
cool. Is that an exhibit is it going on right now?
It's actually going to happen, June through November. It's an exhibition celebrating the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, so I curated a show, so I asked 10 local women artists to tell me how they feel about, women's right to vote, because obviously 100 years ago, I, being a woman, wouldn't be able to vote, being a person of color. So I'm like, there's some things that have to be spoken about. Yes, it's great to celebrate that women's right to vote, but I'm like, not all women have that privilege. So that's what the exhibition is about.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's super awesome.
In Denver.
Yeah.
It's in Aurora.
Okay.
Yeah. So I organize or curate 3 galleries for the city, and they're going to be in 2 of our library galleries, in 2 different libraries. One in North Aurora, which is, the heart of Aurora. And then the other one is going to be in South Aurora, where there's a little bit more money and just a different crowd.
Okay.
So I thought it would be awesome to show it for like 3 months in one gallery and then switch it out and then show the other artists in that gallery too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I worked in Aurora in the school system in North Aurora for a long time doing healthy school food out there, and it was awesome.
No, that was awesome. And I remember hearing that you did the salad bar for DPS, right?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Because it's still going on.
Oh, good.
That's
awesome.
Good to know.
I know. I hope that Live Well. I don't really have that much contact with them anymore, but I know that they, obviously with Trump in office, it's been harder to get funding for good food and stuff. And so I don't know what's been happening with them, but I hope they're still in most of the schools that we were in.
Yeah, they seem to be, because one of my sisters still works for Denver Public Schools.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, she does the salad bar sometimes. So
yeah.
That's awesome. And is Iker in school? So is your oldest? Okay, your oldest is in school.
Yeah, he's in 2nd grade.
So why don't you let's talk a little bit about being a mama. I know that a lot of our people that we've had on before have been sort of lead up to birth stories, and then they've talked a little bit about motherhood, but we want to really hear from you about your experience as a mama. And I always like to know out the gate if being a mom was something that you had thought about when you were younger, if you knew you always wanted to be a mom. How did you get there?
I think for like the longest time, I'm like, oh, hell no, I don't want to be a mom. Like, I'm like in my life without kids. Like, I can't even imagine. But then I feel like all that changed after I became an aunt. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I definitely want to have kids. Like I want, people to kind of take on our name and all of that too. So that very much changed. But for the longest time, I was like, I don't know if I want kids. And, more power to people that don't want them. I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, we're cool, kids, they're aunts and uncles, and they're like, we're cool just being an aunt and uncle. So I'm like, never like to judge those that are like, I don't want kids, because I used to be there,
Yeah.
Sure,
at
totally.
one point. But yeah, definitely when I became an aunt, I'm like, oh yeah, this little guy needs some cousins. So yeah.
Well, I know we kind of had the same thing with Corinne's sister when she had a baby. First of all, the baby looks exactly like Corinne's sister, so it's like
bizarre.
super
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't really look like dad at all. And so it's like seeing a little version of her sister, and then we were just like, oh, right, this is why people have babies. Like this,
Yeah.
this is awesome. So
Yeah.
it was our big
Yeah.
motivator.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yes.
And so can you talk a little bit about that? I'm always interested in, becoming a mama to one kid and then how that shifts because your kiddos are 4 years apart. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
They are.
So tell us a little bit about that, being a mama to Iker,
Mhm.
and then 4 years later having Valentina come into the world.
Yeah. No, we were very content with when we had Iker. We had him for 3 years, and then that's when we decided Iker needs a sibling. But when he was 3 years old, he was actually, we were noticing very different things about him, because obviously, when you become a parent, people are like, no one tells you how to be a parent, so you're kind of just figuring it out as you go. And then we kind of our plan was to have our kids grow up being bilingual. So obviously when you're learning 2 languages, at some point, like you're gonna seem to be falling behind, but your brain is trying to process like 2 languages at once.
That's right.
So we kind of noticed that Iker was not speaking or like getting to those goals when we would visit the doctor's office that kids are normally reaching at his age. So at like a little bit before 3 years old, we were noticing that he would put like his hands over his head, and just wasn't really like trying to even walk. And then my sisters, kind of being educators, were kind of like noticing that too. And so we're like, well, maybe we'll go get him tested. Maybe it's his ears. Like we weren't really sure what was happening. So we went through this, it's called Child Find here in Colorado, where they test kids just for different things. He got tested for his ears and he was fine. He got tested for his vision and he was fine. And then they were giving us a survey as parents to kind of answer questions like, is your son here or does he do that? And then later, like a few months later, he got diagnosed with being on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
Which was kind of like a shock to us, because we're like, what? Like we already have to worry about, are they healthy? Like, are they learning what they're supposed to be learning? So that was a little bit of a shock for Scott and I, my husband, to find out that our child was on the spectrum. But I mean, later, I feel like we were okay with it. We were just like, okay, what interventions do we need to get for him so that he can be at the goals that he's supposed to be at for his age?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you get Iker's diagnosis before you got pregnant?
It actually, like, we found out the diagnosis, and like a few months later we're like, oh, we're pregnant, we're gonna have another child. Yeah.
Wow.
So we definitely were like, what? Like we wanted another child, but definitely wanted to focus on Iker and make sure he gets the attention that he needs. But at the same time we're like, oh, we can totally do this. Yeah.
Wow.
And then is Iker, is he in public school in DPS?
He's cool. Actually goes to Cherry Creek schools.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he is, for the first few years, kindergarten and first grade, he was in a classroom with kids with disabilities.
Okay.
So most of the day he would go into the classroom. But now he's pretty much, we have to do an IEP with him.
Yeah.
Which is just, a education plan for our student to kind of talk about the goals that we want for Iker. So we just had his IEP in January. So he has pretty much been staying in his general classroom
Okay.
with his friends and his teacher, but he still goes to the other classroom when he just needs to like take some space or just needs a break or, whatever.
Oh.
But yeah, so our goal and his teacher's goals are to just eventually have him stay third grade and up in his general classroom.
Yeah, that's great. I know it's so my sister
Yeah.
had some learning disabilities, but was also on the autism spectrum, and she, God, it was hard because like elementary school was great. Like we went to Steele, and they were really dialed, and it was obviously a smaller school, and teachers were really like they knew her. And then she kind of it was hard to figure out where to put her, and I think in high school basically she was. I don't know, it was like 50-50. She was like in mainstream classes, and then she was with the special needs kids. And I don't know, she was just such an interesting nugget where she fell on the spectrum, because it was like she was, to see her, you were kind of like, oh, she was pretty high functioning and all the things, and she could do pretty well in normal classes. But it was hard. She kind of got, I think, lost in the shuffle because they just didn't have the resources or whatever it was, and she was also just a kid that kind of wanted to do her own thing. So. Yeah.
Which is, unfortunate because, public school, they're just spending so much time and people don't give credit to all the teachers.
Totally.
At all. But I'm like, it's public school. Like, I went to public school and I'm fine. Like, but I think the key is, like, we definitely are very close to all of Iker's teachers. We're definitely not helicopter parents, but we do have a special relationship with like his special needs teachers and all the interventionists. Like we definitely can text them or they can call us and let us know what's going on. So I think that me and Scott have done a pretty good job at just kind of having that open communication with the teachers. We're friends with the general education teacher too, but because we have had to deal with his other teachers more, we're just a little bit tighter and closer to them.
Yeah, totally. This might be kind of a weird question, and I think a lot of it just comes from me, like my ignorance. But did you do anything different in your pregnancy with Valentina after Iker got diagnosed? Was there anything that you were like hyper vigilant about? I know there's like no way to kind of determine what autism stems from or whatever, but was there anything in your mind about like, oh, I should do this different or that differently or whatever?
Well, I definitely kind of very much always kind of compared like my pregnancy with Iker to Valentina's, and being pregnant when I had Iker was very difficult. Like I was sick for like 3 months out of the 9 months that I was pregnant, like coughing, I couldn't sleep. Like I don't know what was wrong with me. It was almost like allergies, but it was I don't know if it was like bronchitis, but I was definitely more sick when I was pregnant with Iker than I was with Valentina. Like I feel like the second pregnancy was super easy with her. I did want to be careful with what I put in my body, but at the same time, I'm like, we didn't know that this was going to happen to Iker. And I was very, very careful of what I was eating and like getting sleep and all of that. So I definitely did kind of compare my pregnancies or think like, what can I do better? That definitely was in the back of my mind.
Sure. Yeah.
And how about once you got Iker's diagnosis, do you feel like it shifted the way that you parented him or shifted your relationship with your hubby? Because I know that's a big moment, right?
Well, I could definitely say that as a mom or a dad, you can definitely freak out and want to just like help and, control everything about your life and your son's life. But at the end of the day, like, I'm just like, Iker's going to fall and he's just going to have to get up again. Like, it's going to be fine. We always tell the kids, like, if you fall, like, it's okay. It's going to happen to you in life. Like, you just got to be able to deal with it. So I think our parenting kind of changed, but not too much after he was diagnosed, because we just wanted Iker to have just like a regular life. So we weren't going to try to make anything different because we just want him to, live a normal life.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Go ahead. We're both like,
how is their relationship? How's Iker and Valentina?
Oh my gosh, they're like best friends.
Awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely fight, and it's
Yeah.
more Valentina, like, no, Iker, like, she's very much like the sassy one, and Iker's just like, whatever, like, I'm just gonna roll with the punches, but at the end of the day, even though they fight, we're like, you guys are gonna be each other's best friends, like, when Iker starts dragging, like, you're gonna have to drag your sister around, so we
Right.
want them definitely to have a close relationship.
Cool.
My husband Scott has a sister, so it's him and his sister only, and they're pretty close. I mean, they're 8 years. There's an 8 year difference between them, but I mean, I'm like, you guys are gonna be like your aunt and uncle. You guys gotta be close.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I know. And 4 years is interesting because my sister and I were basically like, 4 or 5 years difference. And it was, in school, we didn't end up like, will they be in high school together for a year?
I think, yeah, Scott,
They
I
will.
think calculated that they'll be, in high
Cool.
school.
That's
Yeah,
So
for
it's
at
like
least a
senior,
year. Yeah.
senior freshman. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, because I didn't have that with my sister, and I was always like very protective of like wanting to be in the same school as her and like all those things. And it's a cool age difference because I feel like you end up kind of like the younger sibling can really see the older sibling go through the kind of shit with a little bit, a little bit of a gap. They're like, okay, I got 4 years until like this is gonna really pop off and like whatever. But
Yeah.
that's cute. That's awesome. What's
Yeah.
Valentina doing? What's she into?
She is into whatever her brother's into, like, but she's very like girly. Like I as a child never used to play with Barbies, and
Yeah.
she's now like, Mom, I want Barbies, and I'm just like, whatever. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, she got the girliest girl that her grandma wanted out of the 4 siblings that we never were. So it's kind of nice. My mom loves it that she's so girly. And
Yeah.
at first when she was born, I'm like, I don't want my daughter wearing pink. Like, she can wear orange, green, blue, whatever she wants. So my very much focus was like, Valentina's not wearing pink. Like,
Yeah.
but now I'm just like, that's her favorite color. And I'm like, no, don't you like orange? I thought orange was your favorite color.
No, Mom, I like pink tutus. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
thanks very
She
much.
does. And yet she's totally going to be a dancer. And we're like either a dancer or an actress, because she's very much like very animated and very social. Like, that we're just like, who are you? Because her brother, obviously, he's cool keeping to himself.
Yeah.
But Valentina, wherever we go, she like makes friends, and we're like, oh goodness. But which is good, a good thing.
Totally.
But at the same time, we're like, oh, you're totally not like Iker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're
But
very different.
Yeah, and then like, so so Eker, like, how does it manifest itself for like, Eker's doing something she wants to do or whatever? Like, what's Eker into that she can also get down with?
He very much likes I took them to see Monster Jam, like the monster trucks.
Yeah,
And,
awesome.
Yeah, so
Hell.
she's totally into that too. So she like steals the monster trucks from Iker, and is like they pretend play, and yeah, and no,
That's
they just
amazing.
loved it. Yeah.
I went and saw one of those things back in the day when it was like Gravedigger or like whatever the old school monster trucks were, like in Colorado Springs, I think.
Yep.
And was it not overwhelming for Eker, like from a sensory perspective?
It's definitely, well, we've been taking him for like the last 4 years.
Oh,
so
sweet.
The very first year we took him, we had to leave early because it was sensory overload. Like, it's already loud, and there's so many kids screaming, and then there's these like trucks that make loud noises.
Yeah,
So
holy shit. It's
yeah.
intense.
It's intense. And so I think every year it's just like a little bit less overstimulating for Iker. I mean, we still have to take the headphones, and even I took them to the movies yesterday, and he's like, Mama, you forgot my headphones, because he has always used them. The sound is so loud.
Yeah.
So, and good thing, like the movie theater, I know they have headphones. So I went to go ask, like, can you guys let me borrow some headphones for my son? So yeah, I definitely sometimes forget. And he reminds me, like, Mom,
So cute.
I need this. Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that movie theaters did that. That's sweet that they have that.
Yeah.
Because it is just like an assault.
Yeah.
It is.
Talk to us about raising bilingual kiddos, especially a kiddo that it sounds like had some language challenges in the beginning. So yeah, talk to us about that.
Of course. So I obviously grew up in a household where only Spanish was spoken, because my parents were very much like, English is like outside of the home. School is like English. You're going to learn English outside of the home. So it was like constantly 24/7, like Spanish only. And I've tried to kind of keep it that way in my household too. But I feel with Iker kind of processing English, it's more English for Iker. I mean, we speak to him in Spanish. My husband did not grow up speaking two languages, so he has mastered that, but he's still learning. So we definitely try our hardest and our best to speak Spanish at home, but Iker will say some words, but he definitely understands Spanish. And Valentina's just like, yeah, she's mastering both right now, which we
That's
see.
awesome.
So like they've never really known the word for milk in English. It's always like leche. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure Iker's gone to school and said like leche, and the teachers are like, I think that's milk. So there's some words that we constantly say in Spanish that they don't know the word for it in English unless they hear it at school or outside of the house.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it's been a learning experience too, because my husband obviously is still learning too. He can have a conversation, but he's kind of sometimes at the point that's like, oh, that person's talking way too fast for me. Or sometimes he conjugates things. What's that?
Did he grow up speaking Spanish?
He did not. So my husband's from Pueblo, Colorado, which is very different little city, because obviously it's called Pueblo.
Right.
But a lot of the culture there in the 60s and 70s, they would get a lot of shit if they spoke Spanish. So they stuck to a lot of English. So like my mother and father-in-law don't speak Spanish. My mother-in-law understands it. So Scott kind of learned on his own, like taking Spanish in high school. And he very much hears different languages because he works at Costco. So here in Aurora, so he hears all kinds of languages. So he is able to like speak to the members that only speak Spanish. They call like Scott over, but the Spanish speakers don't call him Scott. They call him Scott. So they add like an E at the beginning of it. So it's been interesting to kind of teach three people, my husband included, like another language. So for the most part, we speak a lot of Spanish in the home, but there's times when I'm like, did I just find myself speaking English? Like I constantly am trying to remind myself Spanish, but then Iker's like, Mama, Inglés. Like he wants me to speak in English. And I'm like, but you know two languages, Iker. And he's like, no, Inglés. But then there's times when he's like, Mama, Español.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. It's so amazing to me. It's like, it's a fucking superpower when I see like a kiddo that's like the parent will be speaking to them in Spanish, and then they answer in English, and they'll talk to them in Spanish. You know, like when they can live, their brain is doing so much. And I think it's such an unbelievably powerful thing to do for a kiddo. Like we kind of bought our house in our neighborhood in Portland because there's a Japanese immersion school that's here.
Yeah.
And the kids learn all, Japanese. And I just think the idea, I don't know, like, I mean, I took Spanish in high school all the way through elementary school, and my Spanish is fucking terrible.
It's pretty bad.
It's horrible. Yeah.
So Carina, you've got a fourth person here that would like to.
Yeah. Well, I think I remember like doing Mikey's homework, like along with everybody else's homework in Spanish class. You're like, come sit next to me. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
In Miss Pfeiffer's class?
In Miss Pfeiffer's class, yeah.
God, I wonder what she's up to. I fucking love her. Yeah, that's I mean, and the other, and I don't know if we've talked about it on the show, I feel like, but that idea that when kiddos are learning two languages, especially when they're super young, there's a point where both languages dip off, and then but they both like charge, and amazing when you stick with it.
Yeah, so we're definitely trying that, because I'm like, I grew up like that. I'm like, I definitely want my kids to keep the culture, the language going, because it's super powerful. Just to know two languages. So yeah.
An unbelievable skill in the world that is, becoming so much more global, and just to know another language is so huge. It's a powerful thing.
No, but I feel like, taking Spanish in high school and then some in college, like it definitely strengthened my writing in Spanish, because I feel like my parents didn't teach me that. It was like reading and speaking Spanish at home, but the writing part, I'm like, that's why I took Spanish. Everybody's like, oh, this is an easy A for you. But I mean, at the same time, I'm like, I need to know how to write and where to put the accents and all of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you listen to the show?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Did you hear the episode we were talking about the use of the A with the circle, like the @ symbol for trans
I
people?
did, and I didn't know that. Like, you
Okay, I
guys
was wondering.
taught
Yeah.
me that too, because I'm like,
It might be totally wrong.
Well, it
No,
was Jerry.
No, it was a
right?
friend of mine who's a Spanish teacher,
Yeah.
who talked about it. But again, and I remember she asked me, well, how do you say it then? And I was like, oh, I have no idea. So yeah, I don't know if you'd heard of that.
I had it because I actually, when you started talking about that, I thought you were gonna mention the X, like in Latinx.
Yeah.
Because obviously that is pretty strong and kind of the thing these days. Because obviously, Spanish is more of a masculine language. For example, like if you're in a group, Corinne, of like men, and it's just you as the woman, it's going to be the O, even though you're included as a female. So that's why the community's been adding the X, and it's been kind of interesting to talk about that with people. Like, why do you guys add the X? And it's like, that's why we are adding it now, because we don't want to say that one gender is more dominant than the other, so we're calling it like Latinx.
Yeah.
But very much like the very like Chicano, like old school, like Latino, they don't like that. They're like, you guys are taking away, our culture. And we're like, we're actually like thinking about everybody.
That's so cool.
And it's not about taking away the culture. So
I think, was it Biden who said, I think he said Latinx, like Kleenex.
Latinx.
He's like Latinx. Nailing it, Joe. No, that's really rad. I mean, and it is such an amazing thing when a language itself kind of it's gendered. I mean, it's it's so efficient in some of the ways that the language is spoken, because you can kind of like say so many things that are encapsulated in the prefix and the suffix of the word, but it does like immediately become a concern when it's like, oh, people are gender non-binary, or it's just such a spectrum that we're really starting to identify more with, and that's really cool.
Yeah. How are you talking to your kiddos about that? Because it must come up, right? Especially in language. And how are you navigating that with your littles?
Yeah, well, I definitely think when I hear the kids say like, when my kids say like, oh, this is only a girl thing, or this is a boy thing, I'm like, we haven't taught you guys that. So I know you're hearing that at school, because we're very much about like equality and social justice in our home. So I'm like, Valentina can play with trucks if she wants to, or Iker can play with babies. Like, I definitely see that aspect, talking about them in that way. I think we'll probably talk to them about the language part like a little bit later, but we definitely want it to be like, girls can play with whatever, boys can play. You can like purple, pink, whatever.
Awesome. I love the idea of her in the pink tutu with the monster truck.
Yeah.
That's badass. You gotta like merge those things.
Well, we definitely went to a birthday party, and it was like a train and ballerina birthday party. And Valentina's got her tutu, but like her pants that are like pinstripe, like with the train.
Awesome.
And they're like, somebody noticed that. They're like, oh, she's wearing both. I'm like, yeah, because that's the way we do it.
Hybrid. Yeah, that's rad. That's really fun.
Oh my God, I love that.
Well, God, and I was such a kid that like, I don't know, I was such a gender bendy little kid. Like, I wanted jellies so badly. And
you did?
Oh my God,
I totally can see that though.
Yeah, and so finally I got jellies, and I did not want fucking jellies. Did you guys have jellies?
Definitely.
They were so uncomfortable.
They were the worst. I used to
give you hot spots
and then get blisters.
I was like, I wore them for like a day, and I was like, all right, fuck this. I'll go back to my Jordans or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, they were pure aesthetics. They were not.
Well, it was, and I think I wanted them because I thought that it's what the dudes on Miami Vice wore. Like they wore like the little like flats, like Miami style shoes or whatever. And I was like, oh, those are jellies. And they weren't fucking jellies. They were like probably super expensive, like, just flats or whatever. But
definitely.
I'm still looking to whip some jellies. So
Carina, do you have things from your childhood that your kids are liking right now? Because what's old is new again. So
that's what I'm trying to think.
Like, do you have them watching Mr. Rogers or anything like that? Or?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I'm like, you
Hell
guys
yeah.
are watching like She-Ra and He-Man
Yeah.
and like,
Yes.
yeah, no, we definitely do it that way. I mean, I don't know about style because these days I'm like, mom jeans, like moms don't even wear those. Like,
No, dude, I know. All that shit coming back that I'm like, starter jackets, like, you know, I
yeah,
don't know. In Portland, it's like, and same as Denver, like, there's all the consignment shops that, like, if I
Yeah.
had saved my ugly shit from back then, like, I
right.
could sell $500 a pop now.
Oh, for sure.
I think Scott still has like his Tommy Hilfiger jacket like in the closet. And I'm like, you better save that. I'm sure it's coming back.
Yeah,
Oh,
shrink
you
wrap
know
that.
it is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When it's, and I would be so interested. I haven't watched He-Man or anything. I watched the G.I. Joe relatively recently.
Ooh, how
and
was it?
well, it was okay. I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely some kind of like gendery issues that are
Oh,
a
yeah.
little
Some kind of homophobic
problematic stuff.
I feel
Not
like.
on G.I.
Yeah.
Joe, but there was definitely like homophobic stuff on so much in so many movies and media and stuff. It's like there's a lot of the movies that I watched when I was a kid that are just like so cringy about what rapey stuff for sure. Like
Yeah.
such creepy stuff around like spying on girls in the shower
Oh,
and oh my
yeah.
god, horrible. But most of like the kids shows though, I feel like are pretty. The main thing for me about them is when I watch them, they're so fucking boring. Like like the Peanuts. If you watch like the Peanuts Christmas special, like 45% of that movie is just walking. Like, they're not even doing anything. They're just like walking from one place to the other, and it's like, oh my god.
Well, I feel like a lot of that television too was really age appropriate because there wasn't these like fast camera breaks and a ton of sensory overload. It was like you could sort of process things slowly.
Yeah.
You know, that was in line with a kid's development. Now we throw at them like, what is it, Blippy, that's just like, I can't even watch it.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely agree with that. Like for parents, it's even a lot. You're like, what's going on here? All these sounds and things, lights, and yeah.
How have you changed since having a kiddo on the spectrum, if at all?
I think maybe I've been pretty patient, but I think that it's helped me be more patient and kind of open and kind of watching to what my son's feelings are. And, you know, because he might be throwing himself on the floor or like just very uncomfortable. But then at the end of the day or at that moment, I need to make sure like what is going on here that Iker's going through. So I definitely am more aware of things. So I would have to stay patient and a little bit more aware of the environment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Do you have, because I'm sure we've got mamas listening that have kiddos on the spectrum, or maybe are suspecting that their kid is having some sensory challenges, or maybe do you have some advice from being in that place yourself 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I guess all the kids, obviously it's a spectrum, so they're all going to be different. I think just being more aware of your child's feelings, and I mean just actually talking about feelings, like saying like I'm feeling frustrated or I'm feeling like angry, like because I think growing up no one ever teaches you that you can feel these different things. So I think definitely being aware of what's going on. Like I said, when we noticed Iker kept putting his hands over his ears, we're like, maybe that's something more serious than we actually think. So just kind of even making notes or keeping a notebook to what you are noticing and when it's happening, and like where you are, if it's at home or in a busy place at the store, because even the lights I think at stores sometimes are a little bit sensitive to Iker's eyes. So I think just kind of making a note, whether it's on your phone or a notebook, just to kind of notice, because I think you as a parent you can definitely overlook it. So I think just kind of making a note and then later kind of looking at your notes and saying, okay, this is what's happening. I mean, I don't want to say to self-diagnose your child, but definitely make notes and not really compare with other kids. But I mean, as a parent, I think that's just kind of automatic sometimes, but comparing, but not like in a negative way, just yeah, just kind of being aware of what's going on in the kids that might be the same age as their child. Because I think a lot of parents just don't pay attention. It's already tough having to be a parent, that there's so much going on, but I think just kind of stepping back and seeing what's going on, I would say to other moms.
Well, and also trusting yourself too, right? Like you are the expert on your kid. You see them every day, day in, day out in all kinds of different situations. Whereas professionals and teachers, we get them in this sort of very curated environment, right? And that you as parents, you have this, especially as a mom, you have this inherent, really incredible bond that allows you to see things that other people might not. And so, to trust that.
Yeah. When what I've heard from so many parents is like, because you're with your kid almost all the time, like you get to see the cause and effect. So 2 hours ago, they ate string cheese and now they're having, like diarrhea or whatever it might be. Like Rinne has so many kids, on the spectrum and not, that come into her. And it's like, some of the parents are hyper aware and they're like, I noticed that when X happens, Y happens, know, or like when there's this stimulus, this is what it affects in my kid. And then there's a lot of other parents that are just kind of like, dude, I'm literally just doing all that I can to keep the kid alive. And I haven't really noticed that like every time they eat wheat, they get a migraine or something, like whatever it might be. And so it is such a good idea to like to note take and just make sure that you're like, seeing all the different things and making sure that you're seeing the perspective, like from a, kind of 10,000 foot perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, and I definitely was going to also say that, what Iker eats, it definitely has helped him. Like he's very much only like a veggie and fruit kind of person. I mean, he will have like a hamburger, but once in a while, or he'll ask for that. But it's just been really interesting that he's very much like, give me a salad, mom, or give me like an apple. And other parents, when they see him around, are like, wow, you guys feed him really well. And we're like, this is all him. Like, that's what he wants to eat.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
What about your little one?
Oh, she pretty much eats everything. Like we were laughing the other day because we're like, she eats menudo, and Iker's like, I don't want to eat that. But she like eats like the meat part of the menudo, not like the hominy part, which is like my favorite part of the menudo. But she eats it all, like gets it all over her shirt, and we're just like, get it.
Can you describe what menudo is?
Menudo is what they call tripe, so it's like the intestine part of like the of an animal, which I think is, I mean, we grew up eating that. Like, I don't think we thought it was disgusting until somebody was like, menudo, that's gross, but that's just like part of our culture. So yeah, just kind of, and even sharing that with our kids has been very interesting too, because we're like, we're not telling Valentina what she's eating right now. We're just gonna let her like eat it.
I think that's a solid way to go. And it's not like, I always, the whole, like, there was that whole stealth health movement for a while where it was like, bake spinach into your kids' brownies and don't tell them. And I was like, I don't know if, I'm kind of like, I'd like my kid to know what's going on. But when it's something like tripe or like stomach lining or whatever, it's kind of like, I don't know if we need to tell them every bit, but just let them fall in love with it and think it's delicious, and then work with it.
No, growing up too, like we would come home from school and my mom would have like a cow's head in the sink.
Yeah.
Because you would eat the eyeballs and like everything about like just that cow's head. But now I'm like, why didn't I take a picture of that? That's so interesting. Like two sinks and then like one cow's head in one of the sinks.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know there's this. So I've been working for this company called Milk Run, and we do like home delivery of straight from farms. And we also have a butcher, like a meat processing plant that's attached to it. But there's this taqueria that's right behind our business, and the people make the best food. It's so delicious. And they order like as many beef heads and pig heads as we can give them. They're like, they crush it, and they make this like cabeza tacos and like and all the things. Yeah. And it's just like otherwise the heads are literally going into the compost. And I'm like, it's such a waste. So they're getting like 2 or 3 heads a week and just like making the best stuff, and it's awesome. And I love delivering it to them because you're like, Here's a head in the sack.
Here's a head. Like Lord of the Flies. Like,
yeah.
But it's like the most tender meat. The lengua, the tongue.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you think about it, the face, like it's the thing that's actually constantly moving in every animal, because they're chewing and they're doing all the things and they're making expressions on their face. And so all those little micro muscles that are doing all that work are just working. And then so if you cook them right, I don't know, it's delicious. And eyeballs are so yummy. You know what? Speaking of eyeballs, I've been watching us in like the corner in our little camera, and it's fucking, coronavirus. Everybody's like, don't touch your face, and I've literally been touching my face the entire time.
All I do is touch my face.
I'm dead.
Is it as crazy there as it is here? Like Scott, my husband, told me yesterday, okay, these 2 members at Costco came in with like gas masks, not the little white masks, but somebody had taken a picture of them, and I'm like, why are they even leaving their home if they're that scared?
Yeah, like you could just get food delivered at that point. Maybe not 64 rolls of toilet paper at a time or whatever, but no, I mean, it's we just flew back yesterday from LA, and I don't know, LA was not crazy. The airport was empty. There was people like with the little masks on and then wiping stuff down, but like, I don't know, I haven't. And then here, I don't know, I was just at the farmer's market and everybody was like making out with each other. I mean, it was like nobody's worried.
Yeah.
And touching the fruit and vegetables.
Oh my God, exactly. Totally sneezing all over them and shit. So
how about having kiddos? Does that, like, have you been fearful at all with the virus?
I have not, because when you have kids, like, and they go to school and they come back, like, they bring every germ under the sun home. So your immunity, like, builds up.
Totally.
So I'm just like, and then having a husband who works at this really busy place, I'm like, Scott never really gets sick, but when he does, I'm like, it's probably some serious stuff from I don't know where. So I'm like, I'm not that scared.
Yeah. I know. I'm kind of in the same boat, and I've always been kind of the weird person who's like, if I drop food on the ground, I love to eat it because I'm like, I want to like build up my immunity.
Yeah, for sure.
You're like, forget the 10 seconds. Let's just leave it there a little longer.
I just spread it around, and roll it over in the dirt. Yeah, that's good. We got our 5 questions.
Yes, I want to ask Carina one more thing because I'm curious because your mama lives with you guys, yeah?
She does, yeah.
So I think we've really gotten away from multi-generational living.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I just want to hear a little bit about that. What's it like to have your mom with you, interact with your kids every day?
Definitely sometimes has its challenges because it's not like, I'm like, I haven't lived with my mom forever. That now that she's at our home, like, I definitely am appreciative of her and like just having conversations and stories about like her life. So I definitely love that she gets to like pretty much help raise our kids too. Cause I'm like, I was close to my grandparents, but for the most part, they lived in Mexico and would come visit whenever they could. Or, my dad's family lived in New Mexico. So I'm like, I've never really had that close bondness with my grandparents. So I very much love that Valentina gets taken to school by my mom and knows her friends and knows the grandmas and the parents. So I definitely love it. Like, a lot of people are like, what? Why does your mom live with you? And it's like, it's just a thing that Latinos and like Asians do. Like, it's very much like a cultural thing. So I'm like, there's nothing wrong with like our mom living with us. It's just a thing that you do. So I definitely appreciate it. I always tell her all the time, like, thanks for your help in raising our kids.
Yeah, and what an amazing way for people to get to know their grandparents, but then also like kids getting to know someone of that kind of age echelon. Like, I didn't know my grandparents at all, and I'm actually really glad that they didn't live with us because they were kind of assholes. But I just think that it's like, it's what a thing. And like you said, it is a cultural thing. There's very few kind of white families that I've known that have been like, that's something like that they really value, is like valuing your elders and like, and, looking to the wisdom of these people that have lived through so much. And I think it's something that, I don't know, you really miss out on, because it's like,
you do.
The idea of sending a parent to like a, I don't know, to live on their own or whatever. I mean, it's like, I don't know, us talking about having kids and living out of, not in the same state as either of our parents. It's like, I don't know. It's an odd thing for us to figure out how we want to manage that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, there's been too, like my mom has learned from us too, because she sees that Scott has been like a dad, like that he
Mm.
changed diapers and like help like potty train. That my mom's like, what? This is like foreign to me because my dad didn't do that. My mom's
Okay.
like, your dad didn't change one diaper out of like the four of you. So that has been a little bit kind of, we've had to explain to my mom, like, this is what dads do. Like,
Mm.
they help the
Yeah.
mom. Like, it's not like something that's like, Scott just, comes home and you make him dinner. I'm like, it's not like that, Mom.
Yeah.
Like, Scott is a dad. He's gonna help.
Wow.
Cool. Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
I know that's
two-way learning street.
I know.
never thought about that.
Yeah, I never thought
Yeah.
about that either. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. Should we have my parents move in?
Johnny, if you're listening, we have a room for you.
Yeah. My dad's the first person to listen to the show every week, Carina, just so you know.
He's the number one fan.
Number one. He called me today and he's like, when's the episode coming out? I'm waiting for it. Maybe we'll have him move in before we have kids. We'll just to really set the stage.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Romantic. Yeah. All right, Carina, are you ready for the 5 questions at the end of the show?
Yeah, for sure.
Are we still going to do the 5 questions?
Yes, we are.
Great.
Of course. Ooh, Carina, I think I know the answer to this, but I would love to hear your thoughts on a 2020 candidate.
I have been behind Bernie Sanders since the beginning because he's very much, I mean, not that I'm not for the women, but I'm just like, this country had a problem with having like a Black president that I'm like, are you even ready for a woman president? Mm-hmm. I'm very behind Bernie because he's been like a social justice person. So he's very much talks his talk and is like about the people, like everybody. So definitely Bernie Sanders.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Favorite swear word?
Oh yeah, I'm curious.
When I was thinking about this, I'm like, I have it in English and Spanish, so I'm like,
let's hear the bilingual swear. Yes.
It's always like pinche this, pinche that, or whatever. But in English, I'm like, fuck or whatever. I've noticed that I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's not just fuck, but what the fuck.
Nice, yeah. And is there a version of what the fuck in Spanish?
It's pretty much like the pinche. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's great. I love that.
But it's nice because in Spanish you can be like pinche Mike or like pinche like the car or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit nicer to be like pinche this in Spanish. Plus, not everybody knows what you're saying. So
no, and it sounds kind of cute, or it's like
if
you don't know what if you don't know what it means, you're kind of like, oh, pinchy. Like it sounds like someone's getting a little pinchy.
Or a little cartoon character.
Or a little cartoon character.
Yeah.
But really, they're telling you to go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I like it. Ooh, how about your eat your feelings snack? What's your go-to when you're feeling shitty?
So I have 2. So sometimes it's like popcorn with a little bit of Cholula on top.
Oh, that's fun.
Yum.
Or it could be like fruit and cucumbers with a little bit of lime and then tahini on top.
Mm.
Yum.
What's tahini?
Tahini is like the chili with the salt and it's like lime salt.
Yeah. It's really okay. I don't think I knew that was the name.
Oh,
that's awesome.
You got to try it. It's so good. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Okay. So, we always ask questions about what was someone's last really positive experience with a healthcare provider, because we're oftentimes talking to people who are like, this went poorly and whatever, but we want to find out like what was the last like good interaction you had with like one of your kids' doctors or you or whatever.
Well, I was thinking about when I gave birth to Valentina, which was 4 years ago. And then right now, like my OB/GYN doctor is not just my doctor, but she's like my friend who happens to be my husband's wife or my husband's friend's wife.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah. So she pretty much though is like, okay, it's your annual time. Kind of like at first I'm like, is this going to be weird? Because she's a friend. But but it's not. It's actually pretty cool. Like she has seen everything. She's seen Valentina like come out of me.
Right.
Which has been like such a bonding experience with her. So I'm like, I am not scared to say anything or do anything in front of her because I'm like, she's seen a lot of me.
Yeah. I guess it's only awkward when she starts doing your exam in the stirrups at the barbecue at your house. You know? Hey, just get up on the watermelon table and we're just gonna have you just
move everything.
Yeah, we need to just check you out real quick.
Yeah, no, and I can text her about anything. She's like, you're the only
Awesome.
one of my patients that has my number. So,
Cool.
and she's the first one to see Valentina being born next to Scott. Like,
That's
so
amazing.
it's super special. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Did you have, this is totally a little off topic, but did you have both your babies in the hospital? Did you have them? What did the birth story look like?
I did. I had both of them at the hospital, and then it just kind of made me think like women in other countries give birth at home, which I'm like, which makes you just feel even more empowered. Because you're like a little bit scared, like there's no turning back when you're having a baby. So I'm like, women in, third world countries don't have a doctor. They just like pretty much do it on their own. So yeah, both of them I had at the hospital.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Best question.
What am I missing?
The best question, I think.
What's the best question?
90s makeout song.
Oh,
Or slow dance song. Grinding
Carina,
song.
yes. Yeah, tell us about your 90s
I'm like, there's
makeout
so
song.
many.
I know.
But me and my husband started listening again to Diamonds and Pearls by Prince.
Oh,
It's
so
such a good song.
I forgot what a good song
Dude.
it is. So yeah,
so
I would
good.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that came up on Spotify recently, and we were like, oh, God, it's just so good. It's like like a perfectly produced song.
Yeah.
It is.
That's awesome. I like that.
And I'm with you.
Well, Carina and I grew up together. When did we meet? Did we meet it was in high school though?
In high school.
Okay, yeah. But we definitely had a lot of parties that we went to where there was a lot of slow dancing and grinding and making out going on. And I don't think Prince was necessarily being played. Maybe by the cool kids, like Katie Meadows and like that crew. They were probably playing Prince. But most people were playing like fucking 112 and Jagged Edge and like whatever, like hip hop.
Like Red Man, Method Man.
Yeah, there you go. Do you know that Corey and Ryan are coming out here? We're gonna go to see Run the Jewels and Rage.
And I'm so jealous. I just saw Corey this week, and he's like trying to act all cool, like, guess where I'm going, Nina? And I was like, where? He's like, we're gonna see Rage. I'm like, you're just trying to like rub that in so hard. He's like, we'll FaceTime you. I was like, thanks, Corey.
We will do that. Definitely.
You should come.
Yeah, you should.
I should. No, I'll let it be just a guy thing, I guess.
Whatever. We're not gendering things. Yeah.
No, I might show up. Who
Perfect.
knows? Maybe I'll surprise you.
Do it.
Yeah.
This was so fun.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You're
Thanks
like
for reaching out to us.
busy mama, work life. It's your mom's birthday, and you carved out time to be on the show. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Are you guys having a party for your mom today?
Well, they went out.
Went out to eat.
She's gonna chill. Yeah, we went out to lunch. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's just gonna take her, afternoon nap now.
That sounds delicious.
I might take mine.
I might go to that too. Nina, again, thank you so much. You're awesome. We love you.
Yes.
We have to meet Valentina.
Oh,
you do. You love her. Everybody loves her. Not that they don't love Beaker, but she's just like the little girl that. Yeah, I'm sure people are like, whoa. That's a lot to handle. No, she's hilarious.
The little lady. That's a lot to handle.
But she's a little comedian too, so you definitely have to meet her.
I'm ready. Next time we're in Colorado.
Yes.
Okay, everybody. So tune in next week. I think it'll be a Mikey and Rinne stay in us from the house sort of show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and Carina, is there anything that you wanted people to, like, if there's people in Denver, how they can access the show that you're curating? Any special help that you've gotten for Eker that's been really amazing? Anything else?
Any plugs you want to make?
Any plugs? Yeah.
There's definitely now in Aurora. It used to be in Denver. It's called the Autism Community Store. They definitely have a lot of resources for parents that have kids on the spectrum. They have people that go to their fairs that have like GEMS therapy, just different things. So I would say to reach out to the Autism Community Store. It's very, very helpful, and about time that something like that exists. So I would say that. Yes.
Excellent. Beautiful. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a gem. You.
Love you guys.
Yeah, so anybody, so Carina obviously reached out to us through our website, or I don't know how you do. Oh no, Instagram is how you reach out to us. Yeah, but anybody who has a story that they want to tell, reach out to us. And we're letseat at mikeyandrinnestayin.com.
That's right.
Yeah, and you can follow us on all the socials. You can see our pretty faces, eating, hiking, doing all the dumb shit we do. Should we sing?
Yeah.
I'm Mikey.
Diamonds and
yeah. All together now. All right, so I'm Mikey.
And I'm Rinne.
And tonight, we're gonna stay. That was my Diamonds and Pearls.
Wow, yeah. Sorry, Carina, for ruining your favorite makeout song.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.